Tree decisions. Well, that's a really important aspect of my channel. And I'm more about trying to educate people on looking at trees and evaluating trees and deciding when there's an issue. Now, I want you to look closely at this particular limb. It's a very, very long limb on a Quercus agrifolia, coast live oak. And if you look at it, you can see that there is a bend in it that is telling me that it's weak. There's also got an old swing on it. Ah, ants! Oh, I was into the tree in the front yard. It was also another old Quercus agrifolia that we cut back hard a few years ago. And I had to cut off a dead piece today, and it was just unbelievable. The number of ants that were coming out of this tree, I had ants biting me everywhere. Even if I stayed away from this, I mean, they were just flying at me. So I made a big cut and I dropped it on the ground and I waited for a while and I went back to it and I started cutting it in half. Sure enough, the ants were still in there. They came out with a vengeance. I think I must have gotten bit 100 times today. I had to take my shirt off and Jorge had to blow me off with the blower. It was pretty bad. Look at that. All the eggs, all those ants. I don't know. I hate ants.
So many ants. Oh God, they're going up my leg.
So let's get away from the ants and move on to another job. This was an interesting job because there was a number of trees that we pruned on the property, but this one in particular, it was hanging over the house. And I did a fairly thorough inspection of the base of the tree. Surprisingly, after Jorge got up there, I got over and I started looking at it. Realistically, he should have made this inspection himself. And what I saw was a pocket that was presumably full of decay. So I started pulling out all the leaves that are in here. And I'm going to let you watch this for a little bit and just see what I found. And I want you to tell me what you think. Hold on. Now, this worried me a lot. What I saw here was potential for this part of the tree to take out their bedroom. This is where they sleep. This was their bedroom. So we got started and started taking out some big branches. That limb is a lot heavier than it looks in this video. Each of these limbs that we took out was 300 and 400 pounds. Now, I didn't want to do a voiceover to obscure the sound of that, but that flat area that I just thumped on was kind of like a drum skin. It was where there was a tree from a long time ago that was cut down, and all the adjacent sprouts came from around the base of it, and this is what this tree has become. It's basically an old tree that was cut down and a new tree developed from the rootstock. So I'm going to carry on and show you a little bit more about how extensive that decay is. But it was a real thin but taut skin that made sort of a drumming sound when I thumped it. Now, this stuff was pretty heavy, so I used the rope and wrapped it around another tree to give it some friction. Because I've got friction on a wrap, I'm able to hold this with one hand, and I'm using the camera with the other. Not really a recommended procedure, but sometimes I like to catch some of the action. Now, each of these limbs that I'm taking down are very heavy, and they are full of immature acorns, which are going to get considerably heavier. So that's a consideration that you have to think about, when you're talking about weight reduction. Certain trees get heavier as they develop acorns, seeds, fruit, etc. Get up the stubs and come on down. Oh, there you are. So this is a shot of the tree after we're all done. It still looks presentable, but we took off so much weight. We probably took off, I'm guessing, at least 1,500 pounds off of that tree. This is something I want to talk about, making a proper cut. Now, that limb right there is about as close to an accurate cut as we could make. Here's an example of an old cut, and here's a cut that was left as a stub. Now, you notice that the cambium was not able to absorb it, so I cut off that bit of the stub, being careful not to damage the new tissue. This is kind of cool. I found some feathers on the property, and I was looking at it as a close-up through the camera lens, and it was just outstandingly beautiful. And these two feathers, one from a red-tailed hawk and one from a buzzard, both had iridescent tips on the end of them.